Hi, my name is Andrew Huculiak.
Hi, I'm Paloma Kwiatkowski, and you're watching the Permanent Rain Press.
Hi, Andrew. How's it going?
Doing well. I'm just in my son's bedroom right now for the whole quarantine period. I've been in a two-bedroom apartment in East Van, it's been great, but it's also been kind of crazy. I mean, everyone probably has their own wild story of what happened during the lockdown.
So you've been keeping up with your family. What activities do you like doing together? You have two young children, so is it a lot of like running around or?
Yeah, well, we don't have a backyard, so it's a lot of parks, a lot of playgrounds, a lot of walks. I mean, that's the great thing about living in the city with kids is like, I actually saw this kind of like this interesting diagram, which was showing the comparison between suburban living and urban living, and talking about how like in the suburbs, uh, there's like very like structured fun. It's like, okay, we're gonna get in the car and drive to this place to like have fun here, and then drive to this place to have fun here. And for us, it's just like, okay, let's just go outside. And it's like, do you want to go right? Do you want to go left? Do you want to go straight? And it's like, you never know what the fun thing to do is going to be, you know?
I do have to congratulate you on the 6 Leo Award nominations for Ash this
Oh,
year.
thank you.
Now, it is a complex drama about cancel culture, empathy, redemption. Why was this story important for you and the team to tell?
Well, I mean, I had a personal connection because the film is based on a true story. It was a family friend, the father of like my childhood best friend, had these crimes or these charges of criminal activity against him, and his name was, blasted on the media, and he dealt with like a lot of public fallout from that. And I thought, well, my perspective on it was kind of unique because I knew him not as the headline, I knew him as the person behind the headline, and I knew his family, and I felt like a pretty good understanding of the situation. And so, yeah, I feel like there was that, and then there's also this other element to it, which is like you said about cancel culture and empathy. Like I honestly think like right now, especially in the last couple of years, it's been really it's been a stronger and stronger inclination for me to want to really put out this uh, message of like there's a human here, and I think we lose that, especially with the internet. A lot of discourse kind of just turns into name calling and insults, and not a lot of subtlety or nuance in how people are communicating or trying to understand these concepts. And so, yeah, I just felt like, I mean, art is essentially a vehicle for empathy, and film in particular, it's a very visceral experience where you're in the shoes of another person. And so, yeah, it's a challenging story for sure, but at the same time, I mean, that's exactly what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be something where you feel like uh, uncomfortable, or your core beliefs are challenged. Like that's the best kind of experience for me in an artistic environment would be to feel like my core beliefs are being challenged.
As you're mentioning, a family friend. So David Preston is who it was based off of. He was a story consultant on Ash. So what was it like having him on set? What kind of guidance did he provide to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we actually he wrote a book. It's called Truth Be Told, and the decision to include him in the writing of it was, I mean, it was obviously like very complicated or complex because I wanted to maintain a very uh, like specific idea of what the film should do, and I didn't want to be tainted too much, or I wanted to be unbiased. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to say. I wanted to be unbiased in how the story was told. So the there it was kind of tricky because like I wrote the script after reading his book and having a lot of conversations with him, but then I went away and wrote the script, and then I sent him the script and said, like, what do you think? Like, but also knowing that like what he would say back would only change how I like couldn't change my feelings, but might not necessarily change what was written. And there was some really hard things that I wanted to be in the film, that I felt like needed to be in the film for the film to be like a very fair presentation or representation of what was happening. So yeah, he actually didn't come on to set when we were shooting because we wanted the environment for the actors to be as kind of pure as possible. And I think that that pressure of somebody who lived the experience being on set would have been too strange for the actors. And so it's really wild. Like, we shot the film in Peachland, but we gave our location manager this idea of, okay, we need to shoot the film in a house, but ideally the house is going to be torn down because, you know, we don't really want to deal with the negotiating with the family, all the subject matter in the film and how, you know, it all plays out. So we just want a house that's going to be torn down so we don't have to worry about that whole thing. And the location manager found one house in all of the Okanagan that was going to be torn down, that they, like, these people were open to a film being shot in it. And it was a block away from Dave and the family. So it was like, it really felt like serendipitous, you know, like it was like meant to be in a way. And so like, it was also strange for them to know that like a block away from their house, this movie was being made that was based on their experiences.
Did you tell them like, okay, don't go a block this way? Or, yeah.
And then, yeah, they came on set after we would shoot a couple times and we would talk about, you know, what we shot in the day, or, you know, that was definitely like a thing that was a challenge for sure, was to help them feel like they were like being respected and, you know, everything was being done in a like a very transparent way. Like I didn't want to have any secrets from anyone. So that, I mean, but with the film like this, it's really hard because like you don't really want to, you know, if you're talking to, you know, somebody like a grocery store manager, and they're like, "Oh, you're shooting a film in town. Like, what's it about?" It's like, do you want the long answer? Do you
it's complex.
Yeah.
So what do you hope viewers take away from this film?
I really just hope that after the film, viewers have this like struggle within themselves to see people that maybe they would have vilified or villainized differently, like see the human behind the behavior. And I always felt like this movie would be the kind of movie that like when people leave the theater, they start to have like arguments about it with the people that they were with. And there's a bit of like tension there. Like some person could say like, absolutely no empathy, no chance of forgiveness, like no compassion for this type of person. And then the other person might say like, oh, well, but like, you know, what if you had like the same mental condition that this person had, or what if it was your dad, or what if it was your brother, what if it was your son, and, you know, trying to frame it in that way and then being challenged in that way. And so, yeah, I guess just leaving the theater, I would hope that people would feel that challenge and feel that like just a bit of a perspective shift. You know, the next time you read a headline on you know, Facebook or something, there's just not that snap judgment where you just go to this intense aggressive energy. And instead, I think like now more than ever, we're being asked to really understand another person's experience, or try and understand another person's experience, as difficult as it may be.
I think that's really what art should be about, as you mentioned, like something stimulating, something that provokes discussion. Now, I do have to talk about Amazing Factory. It's a family affair between yourself, Joshua, and then Amanda and Joseph. So, you know, are you always all on the same page?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, more often than not, that's kind of I would say like that's the huge perk about working with family, is that there is this history of experience that is shared. Like with us, it's like we can reference movies that we watched when we were 12, you know, and that had a big impact. Or this one scene that, you know, there's like a shorthand. It'll be like, we'll reference a movie that we want this scene to feel like, and everybody, you know, in the core group knows exactly what that reference is about. So yeah, I mean, of course we have different opinions and there's that push and pull, but the starting point, or the history is definitely there, which is the huge perk.
So you did mention you're working on a new project, a documentary. What can you share about that?
Yeah, the documentary is called Most Likely to Become Famous, sorry. Still might not, who knows, it's a working title. And it's about a friend of ours who we grew up with. His name is Kyle Tubbs, and he died of a fentanyl overdose in 2018, early 2018. And the director, Johnny, he was like always with Kyle and always filming him. And so there's all this footage of him. Not only is there all this footage of him, but when Kyle died, there was hundreds of songs that were discovered on his hard drive, because Kyle was a musician. And these songs are just like, seriously, they're like some of the most incredible songs I've ever heard. And so when we saw all this material, it was a no-brainer that this should be like a contribution to the discussion of well, I mean, again, empathy. It's the same thing where you have this person who's died of an overdose and becomes a statistic. You see these numbers, and especially last month in May, there was 170 overdoses in BC, the highest number yet. And you see that number 170, and again, on Facebook comments, you have people saying like the worst things, like this is Darwinism at its finest, or good riddance, that kind of thing. But even that stuff aside, that really intense stuff that you could obviously poke holes in that logic, but even looking at the number, there's a dehumanization that takes place. Like 170, you can't really fathom the individual experience of each of these people. And so the film, I think, does that really well, and through the sort of communication of art, because Kyle wrote these songs that I think really spoke to like the human experience so purely. So I'm so excited for people to watch it, because I think it's going to be I get to share my friend with the world too. That's really special.
What stage are you at right now?
We just finished the rough cut, so that was 2 days ago. The whole quarantine I was working on it, and I stayed up until 7 a.m. Monday morning to get this edit in. So it's very fresh, and we'll see what the distributors think of it, and we'll see where it lands. But it's really it's just coming together, and it's like it's a baby now.
Another baby, right?
Another baby. Baby.
So We Are the City you released your latest album in January. You were out in Europe before getting sent home. The pandemic happened. So what was it like being back out there? Do you have any favorite memories you'd like to share?
Oh, it was awesome. It was so cool. I think there was like the band is reaching this kind of new stage of like, it's almost like a transformative chapter that the band is in. And so the tour in Europe really felt like it's like a culmination or something. Like the record that we just put out felt like a culmination, and this tour in Europe also felt like a culmination. And I just feel like there's, whether or not it's maybe just the way that I see the world in terms of like, oh, this is so mystical, but it really did feel like serendipitous that we would be like in Europe at the time of like everything gets cut off, and then we come home and it's like everything's cut off, and all of a sudden we're left with like the end of an album cycle all of a sudden has been thrust on us, and it's like, okay, what do we do with it? Like I mean, it was weird. Like in Berlin, that was our last show, there was like half the people that bought tickets showed up because they were so like worried about the virus. But at the time, we're just like, oh, this is like, seems like a bit of an overreaction, when you say, and everyone's like, oh, the Germans are so, so nervous about this kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, this is so weird. And then we get home and it's like, no, this is serious.
Hopefully, though, I know you had to postpone North American tour dates, but when it's safe to do so, hopefully something you'll be able to pick back up, get out on the road. Until then, I know a lot of people have been moving to virtual concerts. Have you been doing any of those, or you've been busy working on other stuff right now?
I gotta say, like the virtual concerts for We Are the City, just something about it. Like we would be into it if there was like a full representation of the band. But I really feel like stripped down or acoustic with We Are the City, it's not totally in line with how we see our music, and so
Yeah.
we've kind of stayed out of that.
You do want to stay true to,
Yeah.
your brand where you're at right now, right?
Totally, yeah, yeah. We've kind of we haven't totally felt comfortable with that embodiment of us. So we're sort of we're waiting and seeing.
So we have a wild card question for you.
Oh, sweet.
Congratulations, you won an opportunity to compete on MasterChef. What are you making as your signature dish?
Oh no. Oh, this is so embarrassing because seriously, I am a horrible cook. What am I making? Jeez. And it has to be something that like I'm pretty good at. Or could I search like a recipe and really go for something crazy? Okay, it has to be something I'm good at. Like a thing I'm good at. Oh my goodness. Can I can I order some stuff and like put together a really good like secret thing in the back room? Like make a few calls and put together this dish. Okay. So what I would do then, if I'm allowed to do that, I would probably I would call up Carp Sushi. It's a great sushi restaurant in East Van, and I would put together. I mean, they've got some good combos. The carp combo is a good combo, or the Mount Pleasant combo I might do as well. And I'd put that together in the back room, and then I would, but I couldn't take credit for it. That's the thing. I just have to say, you know what? I'm so humbled by the challenge that I bow out. Try this though; it's good. It's from Carp Sushi.
Hi, Paloma. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thank you.
So what have you been up to these past few months?
Oh, well, with COVID, my life actually kind of drastically changed because my parents bought a cafe right before COVID happened. And so it was really like all hands on deck to keep them afloat. So all my creative projects and things I had to set aside. And it was really just learn how to be a barista and help my parents through this crazy time.
Do you
But
want to
now
give the cafe a shout out? What's it called?
it's part of the Trees Organic
Oh,
coffee
okay.
franchise. So they own the Kitsilano location now. But we also had to start we have a commercial kitchen, so we got creative and started a pierogi delivery company as well called Garmaz, which we did to supplement the income loss of the cafe. So it's been a very, very busy couple months doing something totally different for me. But it's been really wonderful to be there with my family and especially through all of this, through everything.
So how was it being a barista? Slightly different than acting.
Yeah, slightly different. Although I feel like I've pretended to be those roles before.
Yeah.
Yeah, learning. I mean, it's all easy once you learn it, how to steam
Yeah.
milk, things like that, and deal with customers. I think is the biggest thing.
You do have a lovely dog, Daisy. So have you been getting out, spending time on walks, hikes when you get the opportunity to?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yes, we have been. We managed to go kind of backcountry camping already once this season, and we're hoping to do some more. She's very rambunctious and needs a lot of activities. So we've definitely been finding ways to tire her out.
So I do have to congratulate you on your Leo Award nomination for Riot Girls. What was your favorite part about playing Scratch?
Thank you. Oh man, Scratch has honestly been the most fun I've ever had playing a role. I got to shave my head into a mohawk. I got to be like this totally different person from myself. And the whole experience, we filmed it in Toronto, and it was my first time really going away for 6 weeks to somewhere else and being really fully immersed in a film project. So it was a really amazing experience. And then it was my first time working with like a all woman dominating the project. Like it was a woman wrote the project. It was female directed, female produced. My first and I think only time working with a female cinematographer. So it was very cool to like, it felt very empowering.
And I know you learned to skateboard for this role as well. So is this a skill you still possess?
I need to brush up on my skateboarding skills. I do have Scratch's skateboard now. It hangs on my wall, but I haven't been skateboarding as much as I told myself I would be.
You've been busy, fair enough, but the skateboard must be a nice kind of keepsake to have from the film. You worked closely with Madison and Ajay in particular, so what was that relationship like when the cameras weren't rolling?
It was, you know, very similar, I feel, to the dynamic we had on camera. It worked out perfectly. Madison and I were cast ahead of Ajay, and we had a week of rehearsals in Toronto, and which mostly was like me and Madison hanging out in Toronto and getting to know each other and building this like great friendship. Became good friends, and they were struggling to cast Sony, which was Ajay's character, and he didn't get cast till 2 days, I think, before we started shooting. Like we like literally met him the night before we were going to shoot the following scene, which is perfect because the dynamic in the movie is Madison and I are like these are best friends, and Jay's character just kind of comes into the picture and adds this like really great dynamic to the three of us. So it was very similar.
And then you mentioned a woman in film, so Jovanka, she knows her gore and horror. So what was it like having her as a director?
Oh, she was fantastic. You know, not enough gore, in my opinion. I wanted to get some blood on me. It never happened. But she promised me that one day she would put me in a movie where I just get splattered in blood. It was, there were definitely, her influence in the gore is evident in the movie. Like there are some moments in the movie you're like, whoa, I didn't expect there to be this much blood in this film. But it kind of adds to like the campy funness of the whole film.
So you also have a love for improv, your time in Force, Canadian improv games. So are you still finding time to have fun with this craft?
Oh no, you know, I've fallen out of like the improv scene, I'm sad to say. It just took up a lot of my time. Although like I cherish my memories that I made with the Canadian improv games, especially uh, when I was in high school, and then when I graduated high school, I went back to coach. And it's just such a like beautiful community of misfits. So I do miss it dearly. It's very fun.
Something that you were a part of, maybe this is kind of scripted too, but you were in an episode of Human Town, the Spagooshi episode. So what was it like working on that? Because that was hilarious. I've watched that like numerous times on YouTube.
Well, Human Town, my brother is one of the members of Human Town, so that's why I kind of get involved every now and then with them. I mean, they're hilarious. They are just like the most obscure comedy. It's very fun. It's very hard to keep a straight face whenever you're on set with Human Town, for sure. They're like they're dynamic. They've been a sketch comedy group since 8th grade. Like they've known each other since high school. And they still continue to do all their comedy. So they've got like such a hilarious dynamic.
Now, you played Talia in Percy Jackson, Sea of Monsters. I know you still get tagged in fan art and fan edits on Instagram. So how special is that knowing that you've played a character that has, had an impact on so many?
It's so cool. I mean, particularly because that was my first ever acting role, and I was still quite young. I was 18 or 17 when I filmed that. And yeah, I mean, it's a bummer that they didn't make the other films, and I didn't get to like explore that character more. But it's amazing that fans are so dedicated to that book series that they still tag me in all this crazy fan art. I hope that they continue to make something out of Percy Jackson. It's such a wonderful series. It's such a great book series.
I was going to say, I think that they are working on some sort of TV, maybe a TV show or spin-off, but it's unfortunate we didn't get to see Talia's story in that particular film series. But as you mentioned, must be something close to your heart, your first kind of feature film role on screen. Now, we do have a wild card question for you. Congratulations, you won an opportunity to compete on MasterChef. What are you making as your signature dish?
Oh, that's so funny. I've actually been watching so much of the Canadian baking show. I've gone through all 3 seasons. Ooh, my signature bake. Is there like a theme to the bake? It could be anything. Okay. I mean, I've been baking a lot of cakes because I love to decorate cakes. A couple weeks ago, I made a s'mores cake for my boyfriend for his birthday. So I think I would bake that, like a graham cookie crust with a chocolate sponge cake, a marshmallow filling, and then a coconut whip frosting. All vegan, of course, because I bake only vegan. I'm a vegan myself.